Alright, welcome to my first Deity win in Civ 6. I played as Alexander since I've been playing a ton of Alexander lately and feel like it's pretty easy to win on Deity if you go for domination. And honestly, being on Deity is almost easier than like Emperor or Immortal just because the AI spam wonders, so your units get fully healed often when you take a city, like you'll see right now. And yeah, so Lady Six Guy was to my north. I'm missing a decent amount of footage in this video, so if there's some weird skipping around that doesn't make sense, that's why. And yeah, so this was my first war effort. Was having some loyalty problems, but thankfully Golden Age came in clutch, and I was able to quash those problems before they got too bad. I went with Free Inquiry for the Golden Age. It didn't end up mattering too much, unfortunately, but I think it's the right choice there. Military emergency. I get a lot of military emergencies called on me, which in hindsight makes sense because I was raising everyone's nations with giant death robots, but at the time it was really annoying. And yeah, this is just me moving my units, moving the troops up north to take out that city that starts with an X. Not even gonna try to pronounce that. But after I took this city, I actually decided to go to peace because I was slowly getting outpaced. My custom units were starting to fall a bit too far behind. So, and then here, notice the Barbarian Skirmisher on the right. Should have paid attention to that. I didn't. That's okay. And then I built Terracotta Army. This is something I've been doing in all my Alexander runs. Getting a Terracotta Army mid-war it's just awesome. It allows your units to just tank extra hits and not have to worry about dying, especially on Deity when the opponent's walls are higher than yours usually and do a lot of damage. And yeah, so there was a barbarian problem. It was really annoying. Thankfully, I was able to make a couple archers and gun them down, but this is why you explore the entire map, because it was just one little, 3 tiles I hadn't discovered. So, lot of lost footage here. I ended up in a Dark Age. Kind of makes sense because I had to go to peace. I just wasn't able to take that city to the north, and my custom units just weren't cutting it. So I took some time to develop my main 2 cities, which were super duper great. Just built Apadana, which was nice for some extra envoys, so I didn't have to deal with the AIs sending their suzerain city-states at me or levying their military. But I found that this strategy of early war with your custom units to get some Eurekas and to get some extra cities, chilling out for a bit, and then using those Eurekas to get strong units that are more on par with AI has worked quite well for me. And it was also really convenient that the cities I captured from Lady Six Guy were great cities with very good holy sites, which is very important later. Grand Columbia forward settled me, so just decided to take him out. He also was so much weaker than the rest of the AI. Another military emergency. Would have thought. And here, I think this is when I select my government. Did I miss that? I might have missed that. I went Merchant Republic just for unit upgrades. I think you can stay with Oligarchy, but extra gold is awesome. Extra economic slot is awesome. You just saw there I sniped Quito from Lady Six Guy, which was awesome because I had to do none of the work, and I got to reap the rewards. And then here I just wanted to highlight my production in Alexandria was ridiculous. And yeah, at this point, I was gonna take Bogota. It was over. I had everything I needed. You know, they only had, I think those are trebuchets or catapults. I can't tell from just the icon, but they weren't doing a whole lot. Got a normal age here. Sucks. I ended up taking to arms, which I regret, because none of Grand Columbia or Lady Six Eye really had many armies or corps, but it was fine. It didn't really matter too much because once I had taken Bogota, the game was mine. It was just a matter of keeping the snowball going and just keeping my units cooking. And while I'm taking Bogota, I do, in this video, I entirely focus on my military, which sucks because this military, well, it was the reason I won the game, and it was the most important part of my game. It was built on, I think, some pretty good district placement and just like city building. I ended up with really, really strong two main strong cities that were able to produce anything I needed in the blink of an eye, and with the custom barracks of Alexander, that's extra science, which is awesome. I made peace with Grand Columbia. I figured I would save the era score if I needed it, and his last city was to the southeast, so it was really far away from his other ones because the AI actually has to settle, or else they lose their mind, I guess. Another military emergency. Everyone hates me. I don't know why. This is a big gap in footage. Basically, I wiped out Lady Six Sky, and that was their last city. I decided to raise it because it was in the middle of the desert. What am I even gonna do? And yeah, so next, I wanted to conquer the rest of my continent, and Gilgamesh was leading the game in science. So, conveniently, they declared a military emergency on me, and I was at war with Gilgamesh. So, at this point, I figured I'll just take out Grand Columbia. Why not? I didn't need the era score, but... Oh, and here's... Portugal loved to yell at me, and so I just want to include that clip of me nuking all their troops. You'll see that a couple times. Got a golden age because I took out Lady Six Guy, and I believe... No, I hadn't taken out Grand Columbia. I was able to save him for the era score later, but... golden age, I think I went for 2 arms. I'm recording this all live, so hopefully that's right. And let's see here. Oh, something that happened in that gap of footage I really want to emphasize was getting the Grandmaster's Chapel. Because of the crazy holy sites I got from the Lady Six Eyes cities, I had so much faith. And that allowed me to make all of my veteran troops, who were like level 5, 6, into armies and corps super easily. And that's kind of what I do here. I don't think I highlighted all, but I was just burning through all that faith I had saved up, you know, to get all my troops into armies and corps. And then had to do a little bit of grinding before I was able to take this city. I researched rocket artillery just because the bombards just weren't doing quite enough on their high-level walls, but when you have so many veteran troops that are, at this point, mostly corps and armies, you're just able to kind of run through everything. That's what happened. We might have passed it, but I got John Spilsbury, who's my favorite great person. Because what the hell would my civilization do without toys? I do not know. And yeah, from here, I just took out all of Gilgamesh's cities. Yeah, it really wasn't super difficult. His capital was more difficult, and I definitely couldn't just like send all my troops into a city. I had to. Oh, Portugal's mad at me again. Reminder: I nuked all you. But it was pretty easy at this point. Honestly, I think the most difficult combat I ever had to do was my first war with Lady Six Sky, because they were just able to produce so many units so many quickly, and their walls were too high level, and if they had a wall and an encampment, they could just gun down any of my melee units. So here's me taking Uruk, which is very exciting. And yeah, I mentioned earlier I already knew I had won, but now that I took most of Gilgamesh, it was wraps. It was wraps. And yeah, Governor Victor, absolutely clutch. I have never used him before because I never go for domination, and he is absolutely essential. I got fascism. My people were absolutely thrilled about fascism, which makes me think I must have had some insane propaganda managers that were making all my people think that the world's out to get us, despite the fact that it was quite the opposite. Yeah, another military emergency. Boo-hoo. I had actually already declared war on Tamar before the military emergency. But it was the same thing. Tamar was actually fairly difficult because they were quite advanced, and then they had, I think they had a couple armies garrisoned in their city, which made their defense super high. But I was able to chip away at them, and then had to remind Portugal. They hated me all game, and they weren't doing anything. But at this point in the game, I had bombers, and I was about to get mechanized infantry, and then rocket artillery. Wait, not rocket artillery. Mobilized artillery? I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, there's me taking out Tamar's capital. It's just the same stuff. And again, they had wonders, heals up everything. It's really just the same stuff over and over again. I honestly, at this point in the game, I kind of want it to be done. Oh, Portugal moment. But I wanted to actually get the win. I had never got a win on Deity before, so Golden Age for the information era. Of course, I'm taking the free giant death robot. Why wouldn't I? I actually ended up making too many giant death robots this game, which was kind of funny. But I was just so desperate for the game to be over. I was producing them in like all my cities. Here's a time lapse of me absolutely destroying the Kree. They were, I don't know what they were up to all game. It certainly wasn't anything productive because I was able to take like 2 cities a turn. It was pretty funny. And yeah, here it's just more me destroying the Kree, and then a second ago you could see started moving my giant death robots across the ocean for the assault on the next continent. Yeah, at this point I was way too lazy to sift through all this footage because it's pretty boring. I'm just nuking cities, sending giant death robots in, and then raising them. Originally I was thinking about taking all the cities, but it just would have been too difficult with the loyalty at this point in the game, and it didn't matter. Like, all I had to do was take the capitals, so I just raised everything, which was kind of fun in its own right, but pretty messed up if you think about it. Here's me deleting a giant death robot because I had made so many. I had negative uranium. I let Tamar die from loyalty loss, which is one of my favorite things to do in this game. But then the free cities were bugging me, so I sent the lads in. You know, it was kind of sad that those troops, those melee troops and cavalry carried me throughout my entire continent, but then when it was time to go to the next continent, I really didn't bring any of them along. Let's see, what is next? Oh, yep, just me absolutely wiping out Russia. Yeah, even though at this point the AI were making their own giant death robots, I had just, mine were maxed out, and actually this was an important point I didn't write down. I did bring some jet bombers on an aircraft carrier, which I think because they hadn't gotten the anti-air upgrade for their robots, the jet bombers shredded their robots, which was really nice. There's me nuking Brussels casually. I don't know why, but the nuke animation is just really funny to me in Civ 6. That's horrible. You can cancel me for that. I think that's warranted. And then here's my favorite nuke, because Portugal was bugging me all game, and I just took out all of their units. and I took out Stockholm, which was necessary for stuff later. Yeah, it's more time lapse of me just shredding. I think I had 10 or 12 giant death robots at this point, so there isn't a whole lot else to say. So I'll just kind of wrap things up. There's a lot of things I could have done better in this game, just in terms of optimization. I did get lucky. The civs on my continent were pretty buns, and that made the initial snowball a lot easier. I've had some deity runs with Alexander where I just cannot make that first war work, and then that's it. But all in all, it was a really great game. I definitely make use of the autosave capability more than I should, and I want to try to get to a point where I'm like not making mistakes like that. But there was one time where I accidentally built an extra theater square in one of my cities, and I had to build an aerodome, and it like totally threw off my game. So it's one way I want to improve. But all in all, I've been playing a lot of Civilization. I've played more 5 than 6, and I'm just really happy to get a win on max difficulty. It wasn't the most difficult thing ever to do, but it is a challenge I accomplished. I'm happy about. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. It wasn't the greatest video ever, but wanted to document my first deity win, and I hope to do another deity win of a different type eventually. But yeah, thanks for watching.